Welcome to I Write Out Loud. I am Dana Dubois, and this is my home for creative nonfiction essays, where I share my words, past and present. I am thrilled to see all of you joining today. Look at all those names popping in there. It really, I'm scanning here to say hi to all of you. Um, Super happy to see you here. Wow, that was a lot of folks joining very quickly. Yay. I'm super duper excited to talk about this essay today because a lot of the content that you need to knock it off. Leave it to Kira to ruin my big moment. Let's just, hi Linnea, let's put her on for a second. There you are, you little monster. You look very nice in the light. I have the window open for the light, and that just makes her more hyper vigilant. I think we'll give her another nation awe. But what I was starting to say is a lot of the essays that I share here in the I Write Out Loud project are essays that I have written in the past, because this is my cumulative home for creative nonfiction writing. But sometimes I add a news story, and this one today is brand new. It just went live this morning, and it took me it was a grueling one to write. They all tend to be like, I wish I were the sort of person who could just like bang out a big essay in an hour and be happy about it. But I am not that person. Oh, it's so much better when I have a dark screen up here. So this essay is called, the name actually changed from the preview because I did a title test, and the title I wasn't expecting one, which is, I thought I was good at reading men. I was wrong. It's still an apt title. So I'm going to jump in and read, or not read, but jump in and get started, but talking about what the kind of layered complexities in this essay. I would love to hear from folks in the chat. Have you all read it yet? Because I think the conversation may be a little different if you've read it versus if you haven't. So just weigh in with like a yes or no, and let me know if you've read it yet. That would be great. I'll try to keep an eye to the chat here. And in the meantime, not yet from You Ready, Grandma. Well, stop everything you're doing and go read. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that. We can stay here and talk about it. Linnea read it just now. Lynn has not read it yet. Arkham has not read it yet. Okay. So we're going to have a mix of people who have and have not read it, and that is A-okay by me. I'm going to give it just a couple minutes to give more folks a chance to join. And while we're doing that, I have a few kind of functional announcements. One is I am flying out on a red eye tonight with my kids. I'm going to see my family back east. That's why I look the way I look today. I've got kind of the hair pulled up and the hoodie on, because I'm in the throes of packing and all those things. I have queued this essay plus 3 others for this week. I did an extra one Saturday, so we're still at 5. So there will be new essays all week. I'm not sure about the lives. It will depend on my family, my mother, my father, my kids, what kind of everybody's doing and what the plans are. And I want to make sure I'm able to be really present during this visit. So I cannot commit to when these lives will happen, or if some of these will need to wait till I get back or kind of off hours. So bear with me. I will post them to a note when I have them. I will also post them in the Dana Dubois Writes chat, which I just kind of reactivated last night. So stay tuned if you would like to hear these lives next week, but it might be a little bit bumpy while I'm traveling. Thank you for telling me to take a break, Karen. I will be taking somewhat of a break, but I love doing these. If I don't do it, it's not because I don't love it or because I need a break. It's just because I need to spend time with, my family. So that is a programming note. Another one is to say, Dana Dubois Writes, my I Write Out Loud project that I home there, always will be in front of the paywall. All the stories, all the audio recordings I do of the stories, and these lives that I do after. But I am I do have paid subscriber levels. It is $4 a month to support this project. If you believe in the audacity of art during trying political times and you are able to come on as a paid subscriber, I would love it. 40 a month or 40 a year is the discounted rate I'm running right now. That's a 20% discount, and I plan to keep it up for a while. And then there's an $88 founding member level, and there are different benefits at those levels. The big one of which is on Sundays, I have been hosting a behind the scenes kind of spill the tea live. It's very intimate. I think there were 17 of us on Sunday yesterday. They're super fun. We really dive in and get into some serious backstory. The folks who were in the chat can agree that there was some serious backstory on the one on Sunday. So it was fun. So if you are able to support, thank you for posting the link, Karen. I would appreciate it. And so get this, like iShow is having a ton of subscribers because I am also the co-founder of the Daily Whatever Show. I'm also a contributor at Blue Amp. And so that shows the subscriber count shows my aggregated total. But here at Dana Dubois Writes and the I Write Out Loud project, it's been very small. In the last couple of weeks, since I've started I Write Out Loud, it's gotten much bigger, which is exciting. And as of today, at the last time I checked, I am at 98 paid subscribers. So I'm 2 away from earning a check mark on my own. And I know it's a vanity thing, but also it would be just an immense source of pride to have that check mark on my own accord, not for something I'm part of, but for something that is exclusively mine. So if you wanted to come on as a paid subscriber, one of the next few will be number 100 for me, the one who gets the check mark. And I think when I get that check mark, I'm going to do something fun. I'm thinking about hosting another Dana Red Flag Roundup where I pull out a suitor from online dating and analyze the discourse. Those few videos I've done have been very popular. So I think when I hit 100, that will be a reward that I'll do an extra live and I'll do one of these behind the scenes of online dating podcasts for all of you because they tend to be very well liked and they are very funny. Okay. I think that's all the backstory that I had. Thank you again for joining me here on I Write Out Loud. The essay that we are here to talk about today, I have to keep checking because the title changed with the A/B test I did. I thought I was good at reading men. I was wrong. And the subtitle is, so I asked AI to analyze my dating patterns and it saw what I couldn't. And very true. Show of hands in the audience. Trying to think of how to frame this question. We'll start it like this. A thumbs up or a yes if you use AI for something in your life, and a thumbs down if you don't. Or a no, you can just, the thumbs might be kind of tricky, but let me know kind of where we are in terms of folks and their familiarity with AI. I'm also happy if you weigh in and you're like, I hate it. It's destroying the world. Completely fine. But I would like to hear your point of view before I jump in. Karen says yes, but only for editing sometimes. The A in AI equals artificial. Cheryl says yes. I have been using ChatGPT never to write. It sucks as a writer. Yeah. Arkham says no. Linnea says no. I'm familiar, but I don't like to use it. All fair. When I write about AI, I like to think it's from a pretty nuanced position of I use AI both at my day job and as a writer. I use it as a companion while writing, as a foil. I've spoken about this before, but it's a very good copy editor. And it's very good at when I dump a whole bunch of discombobulated thoughts that I know are going to be a story, it can really help me outline and identify gaps in my narrative arc. So I do use it as a writing companion. Cheryl, this is really interesting. Cheryl says as an odd DHD, so autistic ADHD, it helps me a ton with communication. Yes. Lynn says online dating seems to be an exercise in swimming in a pool contaminated with fecal matter. You're not wrong. Lisa says, hate it. People are using it for therapy and it's dangerous. Um, yeah, yes, though I try to use it sparingly. And Karen says, I tried to use it for astrology and oh my God, it gets everything so wrong. Yes, it is. It is not human. So it definitely has its limits. But this essay, um, I wrote it twice. When I had announced this essay a week or so ago here and said, "Oh, I think I'll share it in the next few days." And I started recording it for I Write Out Loud. I started making the audio recording, and as I got halfway through it, I was like, "This is the wrong essay. This isn't how I want to write it." And so I had to really step back and revise it. And it's because the original version of this essay was leaning really heavily into memoir, and frankly, it was me processing some grief and other emotions around recent failed relationships. And I didn't want that to be the core part of that essay. I wanted the essay to use memoir to make a cultural observation, not to write memoir with, like, not the flip side of that. And so I redid the essay, and I'm pretty happy with how it is now. The through line of this essay is not about my grief in dating, though it's in there, or the hardships in dating. The through line is I could know because of the repeated kind of fecal matter in the pool, is that what you called it, of online dating, it made me stop trusting my own judgment. And I needed and as a result, I became anxious and hypervigilant, and I still am. And in the past, I've nodded to this in essays. I've had someone say like, "Oh, well, you have an anxious attachment style." And I'm like, "I literally don't have an anxious attachment style. I am anxious because it's a learned behavior." And that's a hugely important distinction, and that will probably be a topic for a separate essay, that anxious attachment style and being anxious about something, having anxiety around a situation are not the same thing. I have a secure attachment style. I will leave a relationship when I don't feel a sense of security. I stayed in a relationship for 6 years that was pretty clearly not the right relationship for me because it was so secure and stable. But the anxiety is ever present. And so, what I did and what this essay deconstructs is I recognized that I needed an objective wingman of sorts to help me um, understand patterns, pattern recognition in dating, both helping me write my apps so that I had attracted the right sort of men who weren't showing these same patterns, vetting dating profiles who reached out to me, like the profiles themselves. And then once starting to communicate with a new suitor, sharing the text with my ChatGPT bot and saying, assess this, not is this a good man, not should I date him, should I continue this, but simply is the cadence, like the pace and the tone of this message thread shifting, and if so, how? And it's been pretty remarkable at what it can and can't detect. Mostly what it can detect in terms of pattern recognition. And so I have some notes here, and I'm going to pull them up. My face is going to get a lot brighter with my monitor here. Um, I think I'll walk a little bit through the essay first, but I wanted to give that overview at the beginning and say this: while there are elements of memoir, the first paragraph is leaning quite heavily into memoir. Um, it is not a memoir piece primarily. It is a cultural moment where we have AI uh, readily available in our pockets, like on our phones or on our computers. And no, this is not a typical use case, I don't think, for AI, but it's one that for me has been really helpful. So um, I like the way I look a lot better on this dark screen, but I'm going to come back over here where it's very bright. And the essay opens with a literal line from a breakup text. with the longest term relationship I was in last year, which was 5 months. And in the course of this message, he said to me, "I'm miles from the depth of connection called love, aren't you?" And that line has really stuck with me. It was only 5 months. It wasn't like we had merged our lives and we're in this very heavy, relationship. But 5 months isn't nothing. And it was a slap in the face, Karen. Thank you. It stung. I mean, hearing this really did hurt my heart. Like, or reading this was like a oof, ouch. But it didn't shatter my heart. It shattered my confidence in my own perception because while we'd never like said the L word to each other, like there was so much chemistry and care in this relationship. He was in a very difficult part of his life. And any of the many things that he was up against were reasons to not date him. And yet I did because I thought there was so much care and potential in this person. And so to hear I'm miles from the connection called love, which is a very stilted way to write anyways. But and then the follow on, aren't you? Um, I'll read this directly from the essay here of I because I thought it was a good line. It was when he asked, "Aren't you?" The implication wasn't just that he didn't share my depth. It was that we'd never been standing on the same ground. And if I could misread that, not for days, but for months, what else was I misreading? And then I go on to say, we never said the L word. It hovered. I felt it forming early, as early as our first morning together when he washed my sugar bowl, daily whatevers, you know what I'm talking about. I wasn't miles from love. I was miles from recognizing that he was miles from me. The rupture wasn't the loss of him. It was the loss of trust in my own perception of intimacy. And the essay goes on from here to say, excuse me, the essay goes on from here to talk about the dysregulation that is just a part of dating, especially in midlife, late midlife, I guess, like I am. I can't speak actually to what it's like in other age groups, but for me, compared to when I was younger, how much harder it is to merge streams and form a real partnership. It has evaded me now for really 14 years since my marriage ended. And in the essay, I want to pop over here. Um, uh, it just states that this wasn't an anomaly and that modern dating, it exhausts women like me, but also erodes our trust in our read of reality and how discernment gets reframed as dysregulation. If we feel unsettled, we're told we're anxious. If we question a shift, we're insecure and we're supposed to calm down and we're supposed to decenterment and we're supposed to self-regulate and we're not supposed to overreact. And it's that line between intuition and anxiety gets so blurred. And the word that kept coming to mind for me was hypervigilance. I am hypervigilant. I love the burned haystack dating method, as you all know. It provides all these rhetorical patterns to look for in dating profiles, where you should just block to burn the guy, get rid of him because it rules him out. But when you're looking for little so the idea of that is these kinds of rhetorical patterns are things that will blow up and become much bigger. So they're sort of helping you not waste your time, right? But when you're recognizing things like that, you can, at least I have become very hyper vigilant, where every signal is like, oh my God, he's going to leave. Uh, I and it's not based on nothing. It's happened to me over the years again and again and again. I am excellent at recognizing signal, and I see when there are shifts. Jenny is the best, Cheryl. I'm trying so hard to get her on the Daily Whatever show. I've been writing. She has shared my writing before, so we're like Facebook friends. we message. So I'm trying to get in touch with her publicist to get her on the Daily Whatever show because I love her so much. Um, Bob is asking what's the difference between courting and dating? And that's a really interesting question I want to come back to. In my mind, courting, it's a very old-fashioned term, and I think it's a very cute term. And courtship is very early. That's like when the man in Bridgerton era showed up during your courting hours and brought flowers, and your family was there watching and making an intent known. Dating is a word I'm going to write an essay about. Dating has come to mean too much, and it's problematic because nobody quite knows how to define what dating means, but it does mean something specific to me. And dating, I, sorry, I'm going off on a little tangent, but heck, it's alive and we're going to do that. This is my article that I have just started writing, one of them, and it's about the relationship ladder for me. To me, the order what tends to happen in language, first I'll say that, is you say, well, we're dating, which is kind of synonymous with seeing each other, and then that person becomes boyfriend, and eventually that person can become partner or husband if one gets married. And there's an interstitial step that's missing to me because the word dating means too much, and the word boyfriend is loaded. And so I have found that there are a couple places where bumps happen. And part of it, I think, is because there's no language around it. This is me practicing for a story I'm going to write, so it's a little bit bumpy as I'm saying it out loud. But the interstitial stage that's missing in my dating ladder is simply called lover. So it goes dating, lover, boyfriend, partner/husband. And this is how I differentiate it. In my mind, dating is it's kind of like courtship. Dating is an interview process. It is getting to know a person or people. When I'm dating, I will date multiple people. I find dating to be a slog. I hate it. It's unpleasant. It's fraught. It's bumpy. If there's someone I like, it's the. But in my mind, in my life, sex doesn't happen during dating. I'll kiss a guy, I'll make out pretty heavily with a guy or fool around a bit, but sex doesn't happen because dating is um, a vetting. And this is in my head a little mixed because I have some demisexual leanings. I never just meet someone and instantly want to have sex with him. But the word demisexual is hard for me because that's on the asexual, gray sexual scale, and I'm definitely not that. I love sex. Sex is awesome. I don't like the dating phase because for me, I don't have sex during the dating phase because I don't know them yet. The lover phase is before someone becomes a boyfriend for me or a girlfriend or whatever. But for me, a lover phase is exclusive. I don't have sex with multiple people at the same time. And if it works as it should, it's like giddy and it's limerence, right? It's new romance that moves to the sexual stage. So it means I have dated you enough to know that I have a very good feeling about you, and I'm interested to see if this can go further. But right now, I don't know you well enough to call you my boyfriend, which we're going to come back to what the boyfriend stage means to me. So it's this phase of I'm going to jump in. We're literally jump into bed. We're going to get to know one another intimately, both physically and up here, hopefully. And then from the lover stage to the boyfriend stage means you are someone meaningful in my life who I'll plan things with in the future. When someone is becoming boyfriend, to me, that's when we start talking about we should introduce our kids or talk about when that would happen. How do we integrate our lives a little bit more? And there's just more of a foundation. So the lover phase is a little destabilizing because there's so much uncertainty still. I wouldn't, for example, there's a gala I'm going to go to at the end of March. And theoretically, the current love interest in my life, I have thought, like, I'd love for him to come to that with me, but that's an expensive ticket, and it's a little more than a month away, so I'm like, "Don't do that yet. It's a little bit too soon and too presumptuous." So, in my mind, where the bumps tend I'm totally on a tangent from this story, but it is relevant that the bumps tend to happen during the transition, and part of it is because there's no vocabulary for lover. People don't say like, "Oh, well, we're in the lover phase," and there's an accepted definition. Maybe I can change that with my words. But what people tend to do is just lump it all as we're dating. I'm seeing someone is sometimes what people say. And I'm like, well, what does that mean exactly? Are you still dating? Because dating can mean you're dating multiple people. It has this it implies that there's something very casual or very new happening. And dating doesn't seem like it comes with a lot of meaning. And I think in dating, when people jump to the lover phase, there's not enough of a conversation about what it means. People like to be like, "Oh, it's just sex and it's great, and I love how I just want to have sex with this person," but, like, it's always important. There always should be a conversation about what it means because there's so often there's a mismatch. So, that's one space where things can bork, and then the next phase where things can bork is going from lover to boyfriend, and the person in this story, the one who said, "I'm miles from the connection of love," we had just moved from lover to boyfriend, girlfriend, rather explicitly, like, we had a conversation, I don't know, maybe a few weeks before we ended, I think. I don't know, the days are getting blurry now. Um, yeah, Lynn is saying not all men want to date exclusively. Not all women want to either. I should clarify, this is for me who is looking for a monogamous partner eventually. I am not poly, I'm not into open E&M, all that shit. So different rules. This is just my framework. But this got bumpy, I think, at that stage because we started using that language, boyfriend, girlfriend, but like there was no merging of lives. There was sort of no increase in what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yeah, there's no increase in the merging of lives or the seriousness of the relationship. As you can see, miles. I have miles from the connection one would call love. I would never call someone my boyfriend who I felt I was miles from the connection called love with, right? Um, and for me, like moving from dating to lover can happen pretty quickly. Like I'm not a prude. Of a certain age. This is no virginal sort of thing, right? It's just like, okay, well, we like each other. If we have the same intent of we are both eventually looking for a long-term partnership that's monogamous, we seem to have a lot in common and we're attracted to each other, it's like, let's move to the next phase. That is okay by me. But it can be hard to sort out when that comes by in a disingenuous way, which has happened to me several times. Um, and was part of the reason why I needed this vetting agent, right? Because I'm so hyper aware when there is a shift in communication, and those shifts tend to happen around these transitions we're talking about. And I'm aware of those transitions happening, but the man isn't necessarily aware. And so I certainly am hypervigilant, but also what's that Nirvana lyric? Just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not after you. Like in doing this experiment, what I came to find was I was often right. I could see exactly when a rupture was happening, and I'm pretty sure I knew why. It was super validating to have ChatGPT there to say, "Yep, that's correct. What you're seeing is correct," and then to give its advice about what it thought was happening. In one of the cases, I said to the man, like, why are you pulling away? Why are you communicating less?" And he said, "I'm not." And I was like, "No, I know you are." And it really was validating to be like, "I know you are because I have an objective wingman over here who is validating what I am perceiving." And I think that's what this story is about a lot, is just the need to gut check against something objective and to hold to a standard. Um, you ready, Grandma is saying, "Do you always date with intent to partner, or is it okay to take a lover even if you know they don't want more than that?" I am very relational. There are times where I probably have gotten together with people being like, "Yeah, this isn't likely gonna go anywhere," but my dumb brain would future forecast. I'm now being very intentional. Like, I I know what it is that I want. So if it's not going to be that, it's not going to happen. I'm gonna come back to my notes. My face is gonna get really bright again. I do have what I think is maybe the best phrase that I've ever put in an essay, where I talk about this idea of dysregulation versus discernment and how I had internalized all of it. And then I say, because horny and hypervigilant is a dangerous combination. I just had to say it out loud because I think it's such a funny line. And it's very true. So I have some notes here that I want to check. Right. So one thing to clarify, and that I had to clarify for myself as I was doing this experiment, was like a why AI, and I I had to train it because AI is just a tool. It's a bot, and I had to say like I'm not looking for advice some of the time, but especially during these vetting stages. And here's a big one. I don't want reassurance because AI just wants to blow smoke up your ass. Oh my God, you're the most gorgeous, amazing person, and you're such a talented writer. And I'm like, stop. I don't want any of that. I don't want bulleted lists. I want calibration and pattern recognition. And um, I didn't outsource my judgment. I outsourced the data sorting and the pattern recognition. But it had my thoughts in it and my priorities in it. So there was one line. So um, Lawrence and I talked about this on the Daily Whatever show a while back because I read an essay by Linda Carroll, wonderful writer on Medium and Substack. And she writes a lot about writing and she writes about AI. And she's pretty much been an AI skeptic. But she wrote, I can't remember the name of the article now. She wrote an article that was essentially like, try this prompt with AI. And the prompt was around, like, based on what you know about me, what are my blind spots? It was a little longer than that, but that was the prompt. And I did that exercise and was stunned by how much ChatGPT knew about me. It was really good. And that was part of what inspired this exercise because I asked it based on what you know about me, which it reads my essays, so it's got a pretty big cheat sheet. Based on what you know about me, what are my blind spots? And it came back with a bunch, but here was the line that I am like underlining and putting in bold neon lights. You mistake emotional vulnerability for emotional availability, and they are not the same thing. And I read that and I was like, mic drop. Here, I do this. Mic drop. Here, let me set that back down. I don't want to harm my microphone. That was so profound to me, and it so cast this situation in a new light because this was a man who on our second date sat me down and was like, "My ex-wife is dying, and we have 2 kids together, and you need to know this." And I remember telling my dear friend Sunny about that, and she was like, "Maybe you should run." And I was like, "No, man, he's opening his heart to me. He feels something for me." And she's like, "Or he's telling you he's not gonna be available, Dana." And, Sunny was probably right. Hold on, my battery is low, the power cord here. Um, but in my mind, I am a sucker for vulnerability, for, just for open verbal communication, right? When someone opens their heart to me, I'm like, we are bonding and we are falling for one another. But sometimes all that it means is that they are able to, they're looking for someone who will listen, right? They are not looking for someone as a partner because they're not capable. And oh, the great Zen is telling me that I'm very vulnerable. Are you asking me to unzip it a bit, babe? Are you talking to me, great Zen? I don't know you. You're new to this chat. I'm so vulnerable, babe. Hold on a minute, you guys. Oh, crazy. Let's ride the crazy waves. Is that you, Great Zen? Um, yeah, yes, sweetie. Okay. Not your sweetie. You're not welcome here. He's blocked. That's so satisfying. I'm channeling my inner Lawrence. Goodbye. Um, okay, though I will unzip this now that he's gone because I do have a Cure t-shirt on underneath that I slept in last night because I'm still in my pajamas. Shh. But it is the only one that's like pink, I think. It's from the tour in 2016. See? So Cure t-shirt. There. See, I unzipped it. Take that. Gone. Bye, Felicia is right. Thank you, Jason. So, Lynette Sugar Bowl guy was vulnerable because his ex-wife. Yes, because his ex was dying. That was a big part of it. Yes. And so that line really restructured everything because part of being in a relationship is opening oneself up to one's partner and sharing all your things, right? But that's a cart horse problem. I allowed the emotional vulnerability to drive, if we're going to keep with this horse-drawn carriage, to be the horse I thought dragging us to love, but that might not be a great metaphor, but it wasn't true. He needed someone to be vulnerable with. That didn't mean he was available for partnership. I think that's a better way to put it. And that was a pattern that I recognized in myself, and that I didn't allow men in circumstances. I didn't rule them out because there are so few men who I find meet the bar for me, both in terms of chemistry, attraction, blah blah blah, in terms of mutual interest, in terms of being age appropriate, and wanting a monogamous relationship, and did I say being into me and smart enough and cool enough and kind enough and blah, all the things. And so when I found someone who met all of those things, but also has something big, another story I'm writing, all Gen X dating is grief. We all have our shit. But even when it's something really big like that, that took up all of his emotional space, just about, I still was like, but that's okay. We can work through it together. And what I need to say is, you could work through that together if you had a long standing relationship to build upon. But that's not a foundation from which you can build. That's not in the essay, but it should have been because that was an on the fly epiphany. It was true. So I'm coming back to my notes here. So what was really interesting in this exercise, so I'll walk through the steps because they're kind of fun. The first thing I did was I was like, I have a few dating profiles up. I don't know that I'm attracting the right kinds of men with them because I contain multitudes. And I think that what I was leading with was not, you only get a second to make an impression, right? So instead of trying to guess and rewrite it, I was like, took all the screenshots, put them in ChatGPT and said, what am I signaling? And I was signaling manic pixie dream girl, y'all. I was at a karaoke bar. I was in my cute little retro swimsuit with a pretty cocktail in the pool. And I was in a sparkly rose gold gown with my boobs coming out the front. Like, I looked good. It was getting attention, but it was the wrong attention. I want to be all of those fun things. They are all part of me, but that's not the dominant part of who I am. And so ChatGPT gave me that objective feedback of like, you are signaling that you are a whole lot of fun, but not that you are serious and grounded. And so I said, cool, rewrite it. Pick the better photos and rewrite it. And I literally just kept the ChatGPT text. I was like, I don't care. No one reads that much. Don't have a ton of time. I rebuilt all my profiles. And I even customized it. It was like, Hinge is like this and OkCupid is like that. So I got, based on who would be there, bespoke little profiles. And it did help. The article might overstate how much it helped because I still, swiped left on most people. But of the people who I matched with, I did find they were more complete thoughtful sentences and less like, "Hey, sexy," kind of nonsense. So, Schrodinger's cat saying, "I've heard good things about speed dating." I have tried that quite a few times. I've written about it. It's okay. Um, we'll talk about that more on another show, but it's fun. I'm an extrovert. I like meeting people. It's very inefficient because it's 2 hours of your time plus there and back and getting ready. So let's say 4 hours to meet 8 men, and like you can swipe 8 men in 30 seconds. And if you're not into any of the men there or they're not into you, I've never met anybody that's continued from a speed dating event because it's just too small of a pool. Um, but they were fun. I have one really funny story about the time I forgot that I had scheduled one and I had to take my teen daughters with me. So they were watching. It was very funny. I'll post that one soon. Um, so I did that. And then as men started matching me, I did the same thing. Some of them I just said no, but if there was a maybe, took the screenshot of all the parts of his profile and what he wrote to me, popped it into ChatGPT. I had a single thread going that I'd come back to, and there were quite a few that ChatGPT was like, "This man is fine. This is probably not your man. You can write him if you just want to chat with somebody, but I don't see the level of wit and kind of creativity and blah, blah, blah that you're looking for." Because I fed it with like, these are the things that I am looking for. Sometimes I would put ones in that I knew were wrong and I'd test it to see if it knew why. And it didn't always, there were nuances that it didn't get. And so I trained it, right? Um, the one guy during this experiment who I did date, who then freaked out and imploded, um, that was the one that ChatGPT was like, "That's more like it, that guy." And it did identify somebody who on paper was really good. And it did note the devolution as it went. I mean, it was very short, but that it was like, "Yep, this all seems good. This is great energy. You're matching each other. Oh, okay. Yep. I see what you mean. He is sliding." It was like spot on. But here was the interesting thing that I noted and I put in the story is it didn't make all my decisions for me. I didn't end that one as soon as I recognized the pattern because I'm human. And I was like, well, it's probably, he's going through another tough circumstance. And maybe, um, and then he left. And so it was over and that this is fine. But I didn't listen. And another one where ChatGPT was like, "Yep, I see that there is a pattern shift, but I don't think that this is catastrophic. I think this is a normal response after, X had happened." And I still freaked out and I'm not freaked out, but I still was like, "Nope, I can't live with this kind of ambiguity." So we don't have to listen when a bot tells us what to do, even though the bot is sometimes right. Um, but I'm speaking as if it's past tense. It sort of is because I'm sort of dating somebody right now. But it's been an interesting experiment. And it didn't, I still felt all the feels as things were happening, but it was immensely reassuring to have this aid, this wingman that was objective. Oh, Lynn, I see your comment. I blanket don't date widowers. Nope, not again. We should talk. Maybe in the Sunday call. I have another story started about that. I have a lot of experience dating widowers. Oh, thanks, Jason. That's the person I blocked, right? The great Zen from Atlantis. Thank you for doing that. So here was the finale of this story and something I found really interesting. After a while of doing this, I was like, wow, my bot here is kind of in the groove. And so the way this relationship that was nowhere near feeling love after 5 months, the way it ended was over text. Mostly me writing because it was mostly me doing all the heavy lifting. But I took the whole chat thread. I took all these screenshots and I put them all in, and I was like, "This is a conversation of this person who it knows. Um, do an analysis of this. Like, tell me what you see here." And this is where the story ends too. it was so interesting because it reframed it. And the way I read it was, wow, I completely misjudged this. This man never felt any love for me at all 5 months in, and after all this care, I gotta go, and just, nurse my heart, and it will heal, and I will onward, right? Um, but that was a really painful realization. And the way that ChatGPT reframed it was there wasn't a bad guy. It wasn't like he was awful or you were overbearing. It just came back and said, you all are misaligned. Like, I can pull up the exact language that I put in here, but it was the effect of it was, you are, um, oh, I think I pulled that part. It was a little bit of a long essay when I first wrote it, and like I said, I redid the whole thing. It noted the difference of my forward momentum and his reluctance. And it noted though that there was distance, but there was also affection even in the same sentences. So what it came back with was my interpretation of what it came back with was, oh, it wasn't that he never cared. It was that the care wasn't enough to sustain what he knew I wanted, which was a forward-looking, like, real relationship. And that's different. It meant I didn't make the whole thing up. There was real care there, and also it could not have worked. And that reframing was everything. Like, that was so, it wasn't trying to comfort me, but it was an immense restructuring in my head of what it had all meant and how comforting that was. So, um, that's where the essay ends with, like, wow, I was able to kind of go back and apply this same lens on something that was very painful and realize that some of it was me catastrophizing it. I wasn't wrong about that it was over, but I was off in how I catastrophized it or how I made it more sad than it actually was. I mean, it was sad, don't get me wrong, but, um, it wasn't the same level of, like, "This guy just didn't give a shit, Dana." There was care there. So, that's this essay. And this was a hard one. I say that a lot because I do kind of, like, rip my heart out and throw it at the screen and type all over it while I write, these kinds of essays. Um, it's also so, I'm writing this and I'm also prepping for next week. As I mentioned at the start of this, for the next week after today, I'm gonna be visiting family in Florida, and so I've prepped the next stories. And last week's theme was origin story, so I kind of dove into these origins of parenting, of writing about my father with dementia and about relationship. And the relationship story, I had a little our relationship. I wrote that in October of 2023, a couple months after my last very long-term relationship ended. And what I've decided to do is over the coming weeks, I'm gonna carry out, through this project, I Write Out Loud, at least 1 or 2 each week will be about dating and relationship, and I'm going to share them in order because what I'm realizing, we're gonna get all storyteller nerdy here, is that there is a narrative arc happening over this 2-year window. And especially in these early essays, the, like, October through March, um, there's this very sad narrative arc coming in, and so revisiting those essays, reading them aloud to record them and writing them and kind of, fixing if there are typos and things, just so I'm looking at them again, I'm like, there's a really big reason why I am hypervigilant and anxious. Like, these have been some very trying things, and I don't think I'm an outlier. I think anyone who is still trying to find relationship and love, in 2026 as a Gen X woman, like, it's hard. So Um, there is a reason I am hypervigilant and anxious, and it's gonna be a little painful, I think, going through it again, but I'm really trying to make sense of the all up narrative arc of the last couple of years. Um, this story is obviously current, so it's coming at the end of it. Um, the like, wow, I have a tool that's helping, but it ultimately like it can't fully protect my heart, but it helps appear. It hopefully helps do some screening out before I let people in quite so far who um, maybe don't deserve that access. I think that's where it's heading. I don't know. I'm going to go look in here now in the chat and see what questions I've missed while I've been rambling. Um, Hopefully it's not rambling. Hopefully it's just storytelling. I am going to go from the bottom up. I see a little heart and a 100% for Margaret. Thank you. I'll look for that when I come back down again. I'll know that's where I started. Much of life is very challenging, but we can do hard things. Thank you, Lynette. Karen says, you're not an outlier. Thank you for sharing. Laura says, it hurts every damn time. Yes. I have immense respect for memoirs because it is really hard to write memories because you really do have to dig in and pull out your heart. Yes. Oh, Lynn, you were so beautiful, and I'm merely cute, and I get attention on dating apps, but all dudes that go to sending me a dick pic or asking for sex or phone sex in the first conversation. Yeah, Lynn, that's no good. Block to burn. We should I'm I will start hosting those videos again where I point out rhetorical patterns and things to block immediately, like dudes telling you to unzip your hoodie during your memoir, lives. Who was that guy? Anyways, um, you have some really good writing here, Karen. When you write memoirs, you have to bleed. Yes, you do. Dana does some deep soul searching. It helps to see her process. She has such a wonderful heart. Thank you, Laura. Um, it's really hard to be watching an ex die. Oh, and have to deal with the impact on their children to look forward during that time is really hard. Jeannie, thank you. I know all of that is true. And I raised my hand to be the person to be at his side while that was happening, even though we were very early. And um, I thought we had the legs to do that, or the heart, I guess, not the legs, the heart to do that, but we did not. And it is hard not seeing the story continue. I don't know if she's still alive. I don't know how he and the kids are doing, and I've had to just be like, it's no longer your story, so it's over here. Many lonely men for their own reasons. Yes, that is very true. Um, it was closure, not cliched. Thank you, Laura. I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but whatever it is, I'm glad it wasn't cliched. The creep has been reported. Thank you, Shayla. Karen says, I think he was dealing with too much life issues. Yes, he definitely was. Um, Reading back through here, so many hellos. I love seeing everybody be social with one another. I think maybe he just can't open his heart. I understand why you bailed. Yeah. Um, I am like, I don't think I would have gotten to know my husband's sense of humor by swiping. Yeah, Lynette, it's easy to kind of, you can miss people on the apps if they don't represent themselves well. You only get a very short window to get someone's attention, right? My husband and I were talking today what we think about dating, and we said we would likely swipe no. That's funny, right? Um, I'm glad you didn't swipe no. Um, it is interesting. I am wondering what is red. Yeah, it just means like what people see in a profile. The idea, what is red is you are signaling things both with what you write, what people are literally reading, but there's always subtext of what you're choosing to share with folks is saying something about you. What you're choosing to share in the photos, if it happens to be a guy who likes, mouthy, busty redheads with cat-eye glasses, he's in luck, right? But also, it's how I present myself. Do I look like this? Am I wearing a hoodie and have part of my hair whipped up? Am I wearing very sexy clothes? Am I showing myself like on top of mountains doing yoga, traveling the world? Am I showing myself in dive bars? Am I showing myself, just in very like LinkedIn bio, like headshots? It's not just how you look, but the way you present yourself. That's how people read you through those kinds of cues. Older Gen X, almost boomer, and men come with so much baggage from exes to children to grandchildren. Yes, that is true. We all have our baggage to pack. This has been a great therapy session for me. Good, Lynn. I'm glad. Oh God, there's the creepy guy. I'm so vulnerable, babe. Okay. I think I'm going to scroll back down because there's a lot of people, which I love, but it's I'm going to come back down here and I see him in other chats usually promoting his own music. I'm sure he's an amazing musician. Um, okay, Julie says I'm inspiring me to write about my 16-year relationship that dissolved completely in the last year. I'm sorry, Julie. If it inspires you, that's an honor. And yeah, sometimes writing down the bones helps. It helps heal, but for me, it helps process. Like I'm having new thoughts as I'm sitting here talking to you, but I certainly, like in writing this essay, I reconciled a lot with the man who starts and ends the essay, but also so many other encounters and men who I've known over the years of like, oh yeah, okay. It helps make sense of things, which is healing usually. Um Bob, whom we socialize, I am not a socialist. That's very funny. I do think it's interesting how you took a step back and used ChatGPT for another perspective. Thank you. That was the hope. I literally just say now I want a man who will be kind in all things. I mean, if they're not kind, you can't bother, right? Kindness is always at the very top of my list, which is different than being nice. Nice is kind of a toss away word, but kind, that is a moral imperative. Frida, you're listing some really good musicians here. I love Todd Rundgren. Tom Robbins. I'm not sure what, he's an author. Ram Dass. I don't know what the list of people here is, Frida. You can let me know. And, excuse me. Dana, kindness is my word for 2026. That's a good word. Mine is still rigor. I don't know that I'm being as rigorous as I should be, but I am churning these out. See, what I did was make it's not a mistake, but the mistake, taking on this huge project. I'm like, I have so many things to do and so many things I want to achieve, but you know what I'm going to do? Take on this massive project that's fueling my soul. I'm having such a good time doing this. Laura says, nice is pretense, kindness is real, and actions. Yeah. Yes. It is actually a relief, but so disappointing after all we went through. He was never going to be emotionally available. I'm sorry, Julie. That's such a hard thing to realize, especially after so much time invested. I am really sorry. You're saying Frida says, I'd love Robbins. Oh, I love Tom Robbins. Yes, Tom Robbins. Which book are you talking about? His are so funny. He's from my neck of the woods. He's from Lakota, Washington, and he just died recently. But he's kind of a local legend here. Linnea says, I think my word is community. Well, you are being good at it right now, Linnea. You're here part of this community. So that's a great word. Still Life with Woodpecker. Oh, I read that so long ago. I would love to reread that book. It's been a very long time. And Julie, resilience is a great word. I love it. Thank you. Karen just put in the link to my subscribe. If you are not already subscribed at even the free level, like I would so welcome your subscription. If you are able to come on as a paid subscriber, I have offer running 20% off. So it's only $4 a month or $40 a year to become a paid subscriber. And I am 2 away from getting my check mark. I'm so close to getting my own check mark. I have a check mark because of the Daily Whatever show, but having one of my own would be very meaningful. So if you are able, I would so appreciate your support, and I would extra love it if you could restack this essay so people find it. Medium, or sorry, not Medium, Substack pays a ton of attention to which stories get restacked, and it starts broadcasting them more broadly. My stories really have a very small blast radius because I am new to doing this, and I would love for this story to get a lot of attention. I posted it to social media, and one of my favorite writer friends paid me this amazing compliment, and she was like, "You should submit a story like this to Modern Love. You can't now because you've published it, but this should have been submitted to Modern Love." And that's like my ultimate essay, memoir goal is to get published in the New York Times Modern Love, but I've tried before. It's been a while. They take like a year to get back to you, and then they say no if you're me. So I don't want to wait on this essay. But I would love it, love it, love it if you would restack it, comment on it if you're moved by it. It would mean the world to me. Or even just heart it, put a little heart next to it. Your story today, I only listen once and I review twice. Okay, wow, Lynette, I'm honored. And Liz says, I still do holidays with husband number 3, which will be a problem with all my new relationships, but required by my 25-year-old who lives with him presently. I celebrate all holidays with my ex-husband, and we have all along with our kids. And he is part of my family. And anyone who's in a relationship with me would know him eventually. He is a good guy. He's a very kind man and a very good father. So I am lucky. In fact, I have just one essay I've written about our relationship. It's a lightweight one. It's called How to Divorce Well. And I'll probably share it on his birthday because I wrote it on his birthday, which is in March. So coming up soon. We are at, let's see, it's a 2:01 here, 5:01 on the East Coast. So we're at time. Are there any final questions, comments, anything you need from me before I go? Thank you for the hearts. And since I said this at the start, I'll say it again now. I am taking a red eye tonight to go see my family on the East Coast, which means I will not sleep at all because I do not sleep on red eyes. But I may not, I have stories queued up for the week. I'm going to share 4 stories this week, including this one, because I did 6 last week. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to do these lives. I will be posting about them in notes when I schedule them, and I will post them also to the Dana Dubois Writes chat. I will be scheduling around my parents and my kids. So they might be at off hours. I don't know. But either way, I'll be gone for a week and I get back home next Monday. So for the next week, things might be a little bumpy with the lives, including the paid subscriber lives that I do on Sunday. I might wait and do that when I get back. But there will be new stories. I have them all queued up, including next Monday's. So there's a lot of work this weekend, revisiting my old stories and reciting them. But I probably will not be live tomorrow because I will be very jet lagged. I am planning to be on the Daily Whatever show. Maybe not tomorrow because my flight is landing around 7 a.m. and then the show is at 10 a.m. So I will probably be asleep, taking my cat nap I usually take after a red eye because I have to sleep at least a little. But then the next day, on Wednesday, I will be back. So that's me. Make sure you tell your dad that your daughter has her license. I will. I suspect the perseveration this visit will be about her going to college, though she hasn't decided where yet. So I don't know. We'll see. There's always new insights when I visit my dad. That's for sure. But Michelle Kinney was amazing. Wasn't she amazing on the Daily Whatever show? And then the next day, Lawrence and I went live with her and Julie Roginski on Saturday morning for their show. That was also super fun. So love you too, Karen. Love all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to read memoir during these trying political times. It is an act of audacity to care about art and to continue caring about art, even as we do all of our work to try to fight what's going on with this regime and in our country. So I thank you for being here. And that's all. Take care. Bye.